You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, and Calvin Butenoff coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment as well if you're watching on a live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. If you ever miss anything from the show, you can always go back and listen at civicmedia.us. Also, we have a YouTube channel.
We have a YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to the shows as a podcast. There are so many ways to not just listen to us live, whether it's terrestrial radio or the app, but also to catch up if you've missed anything.
Yep.
So
just go to our website, civicmedia.us, click on shows, and then scroll down, click on, we have archives at least up to 100 shows for all of us here at Civic Media, so check that out. And we have baseball action coming up later on today, 6:30. Our broadcast will start. The Crew at the Cubs. You can listen on terrestrial radio on WRCE in Richland Center, WISS in Oshkosh, WRJN here in Racine and Kenosha, WCQM in Park Falls, and WBZH in Hayward. Crew at the Cubs at 6:30. Wanted to start with something that we did talk about yesterday. Senator Mike Lee of Utah.
Honorable and nice.
Yeah, what a fine human being.
Yeah.
After the assassination of the Minnesota lawmaker and her husband and the attempt on another Minnesota lawmaker and his wife, Republican Senator Mike Lee put up on social media, "This is what happens when Marxists don't get their way." In another post, he linked the suspects in these killings to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, calling it Nightmare on Walls Street.
Yeah, real funny.
Yeah, real funny.
Real funny.
Another Senator Tina Smith actually chased him down yesterday.
Minnesota Senator
Tina Smith confronted him about this and said, this is a really hateful, hurtful thing that you're doing, and this is not helping the situation. Could take him down.
Yeah.
Which he has.
He has taken them down.
He has taken those comments off of social media. Of course, social media is forever.
Yeah, you can find those tweets forever. They're screenshotted, they're reported upon. They live in the annals of Mike Lee's cruel, disgusting history.
Tina Smith said this just further fuels hatred and misinformation because, as we now know, the gunman in this instance is a Republican.
He certainly wasn't a registered Democrat, as everyone was trying to tell me over the weekend, screaming into my face via social media. He was not a You know what? He wasn't even a Republican. He was a mentally ill man.
He has issues.
Yes, this is not a man who's well.
He's got issues. But yes, Senator Mike Lee did ultimately take down those social media posts, but he has not apologized.
No.
Because he never apologized in Trump land.
You can't. I mean,
that's the worst thing you can do.
And those social media posts would probably still exist had Senator Smith not confronted him. And
it was actually Amy Klobuchar.
Oh, really?
It was Amy Klobuchar, another lawmaker from Minnesota, who apparently has worked with Mike Lee on some legislation in the past, and she talked to him, and that's the reason he took them down.
But that just proves my point is, if he hadn't been spoken to, nothing would have happened.
No.
And the moment someone got in his face and said, "Hey, what you're doing is gross and disgusting
and hurtful."
Like, oh, okay, I guess you know what I mean. It just goes to that thing of they don't think when they do these things. They know they're going to get engagement. They know they have an audience. They know there are people out there who are like, "Yeah, got him, burnt, got him." No, that's not how this works. And you know how? And Greg, how do you make this? How do you make this relate to Wisconsin? Because we have our very own spewer of disgusting things on social media, Mr. Derek Van Orton, who, in my opinion, Jane, if you ran a business, and you hired somebody and you saw that they were tweeting as much as Derek Van Orton was during the day, would you ask the question, when do you get work done?
I might ask that question.
It is not only the fact, the sheer volume with which he tweets, but
are you talking about DVO or
DVO?
Okay.
Oh, Mike Lee is also.
Mike Lee too.
But also just the bile that comes out of that man's head is disgusting. And I'm not saying I respect it, but he doesn't take stuff down. He's like, I said what I said, deal with it. because he knows he has an audience, he knows he has supporters, and he knows that he's going to get engagement. And that is just for clout.
Well, and again, the worst thing you can do in Trump world is apologize.
Oh, that is...
You never apologize. You never back down. You just double down. That's what you do.
You never accept blame.
Ever. It's somebody else's fault.
It's always somebody else's fault. I mean, and that is not even a thing we're making up. These are the tenets of the man who mentored Donald Trump, Roy Cohn.
Yes.
You deflect, yes. Never apologize.
Blame.
Never take responsibility.
Ever. But again, Mike Lee has taken down those posts, neglected to apologize for that, which that would be taking it way too far.
Yeah.
I never expected that to happen. Something else that happened yesterday, though, that I think is very important that we all be aware of, because this keeps happening now. New York City's comptroller, who is running to be the next mayor of New York, was handcuffed and arrested yesterday while guiding a defendant out of immigration court. Brad Lander, New York City's comptroller, was arrested, quote, for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer, unquote. He was later released after being held for several hours. Mm-hmm. He said he certainly did not assault an officer. He was standing in the hallway and he asked to see their warrant.
Yeah. And this is now the third instance, starting here in Milwaukee.
Judge
Hannah Duggan. I've watched the video. She doesn't whisk him away in some back closet. That's a secret passage that gets him onto a plane and out of the country. And then we have Senator Alex Padilla from California, who went to a press conference, asked a question,
identified himself,
was wearing a shirt that said Senate, and was forcibly removed, thrown to the floor, and detained. Corey Lewandowski, the raging liberal.
Yeah.
Okay. Had to tell them, this is a senator. What are you doing now? So this is the beginning. And Judge Hannah Duggan was the start of it. These are messages. And
absolutely.
And I don't apologize for anything. This is the MO. If you try to get in the cop's way, if you try to get in ICE's way, it is always you are resisting, you are impeding, you are obstructing, and that's the ballgame. That is what allows them to put cuffs on you, regardless of whether you are doing it or not. It's their justification.
ICE arresting Brad Lander for asking questions, because again, all he asked was to see the warrant.
Yep.
Is a stunning abuse of power and threat to our democracy. Arresting a public official, the duly elected comptroller of New York, for asking questions is dangerous intimidation and shows a wanton disregard for the will of the people. 855-752-4842. My question for you at this time, if you have seen photos of ICE, they have no identification on them. In this instance yesterday, they had no ID on them.
Yeah.
They're wearing masks.
Mm-hmm.
They're wearing T-shirts and flannel shirts and jeans.
Yeah, they look like regular people wearing masks.
They look like kidnappers.
Yeah.
So are we teaching our kids now, your 9-year-old daughters and sons, if a van pulls up and 5 men jump out with masks, wearing T-shirts, jeans, and a flannel shirt with no identification, are we telling our kids to get in the van with them? Is that what we're doing now?
I mean, honestly, Jane, I don't think those kids would have a choice. You know what I mean?
That's going beyond. But again, how is this okay? How is it okay that these people do not have to have any identifiers on them? Mm-hmm. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I don't think that they should be doxxed. I don't think we should be chasing down their families if they work for ICE. I think that's wrong. But at the same time, I think allowing them to be masked with no ID is wrong. That's really wrong.
And for someone to resist that sort of behavior of if it, I mean, I think it's very much in the, I'll just switch it to an adult really quick. If you are an adult and 5 people in flannels, masks, no badges, no identification, nothing being told, and they just start detaining you, your first thing is to be like, who are you? What is going on? All you're fighting to get away. that's just human nature. You want to know what's going on. You want to know why this is happening. And if they're not willing to tell you what's going on, that to me, and I say this with the intention I would like to ask Jim Santel this, is this a violation of your constitutional rights? You are being detained without the due process of Miranda. You are being detained without being told what's going on. There's no knowledge of why this is happening to you. And you're right. I don't know if a judge has to come down and say, ICE agents must have, at the very least, a badge and identifying.
They got to be ID'd. Come on.
Yeah. Well,
this is a basic.
It's a basic in our mind, but constitutionally, legally, I don't know. It's
855-752-4842 if you would like to join us. Bill from Oconomowoc is on the line. Good morning, Bill. Thanks for calling in. What do you want to say about this?
With ICE, we've already had our Kent State moment, and that was this weekend when they broke into the homes and started killing people. With ICE, I've seen it a couple of times now. If the crowd's big enough, ICE gets out of there. They know they can't be overwhelmed, thousands of people. They just don't have the manpower. When that happens, pictures are taken or we got identification. We have to demand identification, badge numbers, and all of that the minute they're incarcerated. Now, if James Santel was on the show with you today, I do believe each one of those agents could be sued in civil court. Once those ICE agents would understand anybody held in America that's detained illegally can come after you personally, you're in trouble.
I mean, that's what I'd love for Jim to clarify for us. And that's he's
going to be here tomorrow.
And that's another point too to discuss really quick when it comes to the horrible tragedy that happened in Minnesota. The man who perpetrated this was dressed up like an ICE agent.
Yes.
He's dressed up like an officer.
Yes. And that's the other thing I've seen on social media. After that happened, with this man dressing up as law enforcement and gaining access to folks' homes.
Yeah.
But because of that, the instructions from Minnesota law enforcement was if an officer shows up at your door, you call 911 to make sure that he's actually an officer. So what are we supposed to do now? If someone shows up at my house with identification, I should call 911. But if 5 guys in jeans and T-shirts and flannel with masks have no idea, but those, I should jump in the van with them.
Yeah.
This is where we are.
Oh, and I mean, that's surprising because when Tony Evers tried to give advice on what to do if ICE shows up, the borders and Tom Tiffany all said, you're going too far. There's going to be trouble. There's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
Because we just want to, retain rights in this democracy.
855-752-4842 is the number to call if you want to join us. Gene, we will take you on the other side. Stay close. You are listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, the board lord, coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine, where you can always join us at 855-752-4842. You can leave a comment as well on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Before the break, we were talking about the arrest yesterday of the New York City comptroller who was essentially accompanying people who were going for immigration hearings. ICE was there. He asked to see their warrant. They arrested him. He was subsequently released several hours later, so he is out of custody. And then we were also talking about why it's okay for ICE agents to show up with no identification.
Yeah.
No badge, no name badge, no nothing. They just show up in jeans, a T-shirt, a flannel shirt, a mask, and we're just supposed to assume that they're with the government?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel perfectly comfortable with that. 855-752-4842. Jean from Eau Claire has been very patient. Good morning, Jean. Thanks for waiting.
I want to apologize for calling again, but I just had a call because, I watch everything live, and I just want to report that the Senate Judiciary is on, and you can watch on FedNet, on on YouTube. But anyway, the Senate Judiciary is having a hearing on President Biden's fitness to serve, like a cover-up. So this is what they're spending their valuable time doing, is Biden's fitness to serve, just so people realize what the devil's going on here. They ain't worrying about the people. They're worrying about themselves. I think they should check the guy in office that's making the decisions on wars and all the immigration and stuff, what the devil this guy's doing, and maybe they need to check into that. But I had a quick call and tell you, I couldn't believe it. I had a quick call, yeah. Thank you so much for your coverage. Bye.
Thanks, Gene.
Bye. Thanks, Gene. Appreciate that. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all, because the last thing they want to talk about is Trump's fitness.
Or the bill for billionaires, or a war we're about to get into, or anything else that is awful for this country. And by the way, Gene, I'll just take your statement. I'm going to amend it just a little bit by what they're spending their time on, also our money on, because we pay for those hearings.
Yes.
We pay for those jobs.
Yes.
We pay for those people to get $174,000 a year plus medical insurance for life.
Per diems.
Lovely things like that.
There's some nice trips thrown in there, too, I think.
We should have our own hearings, and we should
citizen hearings.
Oh my gosh, we just charge Ron Johnson's
I volunteer.
private company. Yeah,
I volunteer. We don't have a whole lot of time before we go to the bottom of the hour news. We did want to get talk about this because, again, now Israel and Iran exchanging attacks. Donald Trump this morning saying we may get involved, we may not get involved. So there's your answer there. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
We'll just see how I'm feeling.
Right, and I don't think you're far off, actually.
No.
But there was an interesting exchange.
Oh, my God.
Between Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz of Texas.
When you're done listening to this, folks, you're not going to believe what you just heard, and you're not going to believe who you're going to side with.
Yeah, take a listen to this exchange between Tuck Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz on the issue of war between Iran, Israel, and potentially the U.S.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix?
Calm down, Ted.
Ooh.
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling
for the
overthrow of the
boys.
About the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We are carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
They're so emotional.
I was going to say, Jay, remember when one of those guys ran for president? And remember how they say women are just too emotional?
We're too emotional.
That was amazing to listen to. And I had to watch it twice because I felt like I was watching a joke. And I'm like, you guys realize you turn the cameras on, right?
Yeah.
You turn them on and we can see everything that's happening.
Well, what I kind of love is that Ted Cruz, I assume, went into this assuming it was going to be all softballs.
Yes.
And instead, he got treated like, I don't know, any Democratic person who might have shown up on Tuck's show.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
so you got to be on the receiving end of the real Tucker. Ted?
Tucker, good job. I truly feel like he treated him exactly how the Republicans feel about Ted Cruz. They've never liked him. They've never respected him.
No one likes Ted
and
Cruz.
He's never been part of the inner circle. But because he will whatever for the president, he will sell for him and support him after the president said horrible things about he and his family.
Oh, my goodness.
He's like, yeah, Ted, you can come to the party, but you got to bring the plates. You're going to bring the plates. It's fine.
And the utensils.
Yeah,
I'm going to hang on to that just when I'm feeling really badly, having a bad day.
I'm hoping that this is a line of Tucker dunks on Republicans.
I'm going to keep that and play that before I go to sleep. We have news coming up next, and then when we return, we're going silly. We're turning silly. We're taking the silly tack. Audio Sorbet is on the way. Stay close. You are listening to Matt Nair on Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay close. Good morning and welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, resident young person, Calvin on the board, coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us at 855-752-4842. Or leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Going to get to Audio Sorbet in just a second. Want to thank everybody who took part in our statewide Text to Win Scotty Summer Contest. And our grand prize winners, Trace, listening to WMDX in Madison, and Melissa, listening to WHSM in Hayward. Picking up our grand prizes, a getaway either in Door County or Baraboo with a gas card to get you there. And we had many, many other winners, either a Brewers tickets or $100 in cash. Congratulations to everyone. And thank you so much for taking part. The winning does not end, even though that contest has wrapped up.
Yeah.
On Friday. It's Free Ticket Fridays.
Oh, baby.
It's back this Friday. We are going to be doing essentially the same thing. You've got five chances to win. You want to text in the keyword we will give you on Friday morning using the app, and then you have a chance to pick up a 4-pack of tickets to the Milwaukee Brewers club level seats, good seats. Free Tickets Fridays coming back this Friday. Listen for that keyword with Pat Kreitlow, Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, our show, 11 to 2. Tom Hartman, 2 to 4. Todd Alba, 2 to 4. And then Maggie Dawn from 4 to 6. Did I get those right?
Wait.
Tom Hartman, 11 to 2. Todd Alba, 2 to 4. Maggie, 4 to 6.
Yes.
That is correct.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yes, that would be right.
Yeah.
Free Ticket Fridays.
We did it.
Back this coming Friday. All right. As we always do, this is a segment called Audio Sorbet. Take a little break from the news, just because we all need a rest.
And we can.
And we can. So we were talking about this as we were setting up the show today, and I'm not even sure how we landed on this. But we're talking about soap operas.
You brought it up.
I don't know how that happened. I was talking about Santa Barbara for some reason, and we started talking about soap operas. So here is the question for today's Audio Sorbet. Wide open. No judgment.
Yeah.
855-752-4842. What was your story? We all watch soap operas at one point in our lives. Male, female, I don't care.
Yeah.
What was your story, or what was maybe your mother's or your grandmother's story? Couldn't miss it. Don't bug me. From 1 to 2, I'm watching my story.
Yeah.
What was or is your story? Because there's still soaps.
I am going to open it up. I did not clear this, folks, with Jane or Calvin. I will open up the acceptability factor on this for those who will say wrestling is my stories.
Thank you.
Watching wrestling.
Pro wrestling they are male soaps.
They're soaps.
They are.
They're soaps for all.
Yep.
And so if that is your way of kicking back and getting some good stories that's great. It's all good.
You got the heels, right?
You got the baby faces.
You got the good guys and the heels.
Sometimes heels become baby faces. Sometimes baby faces become heels.
The trading.
There's intrigue and there's
turning and backstabbing.
Backstabbing. Oh, ha, 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 ha.
The only thing that wrestling misses is a good case of amnesia. Do we ever see amnesia in pro wrestling?
Amnesia, I'm not sure exactly, but there was a storyline like many, many years ago where Linda McMahon, our now Secretary of Education, was in a coma, and she had no idea what was going on. She was unresponsive, and Vince McMahon was a naughty boy during that time. It was a really weird time in the late 90s, early 2000s with wrestling. It was really gross. But yeah, it was, I mean, honestly, yes, the storylines you see in wrestling are the same you see in soap operas. And And what I thought was interesting when you mentioned Santa Barbara, I don't even know why you mentioned Santa Barbara.
It was about an actress.
Oh, yes.
She was one of the lead actresses in Santa Barbara who left the show and became a nun.
That's right. That's right. And I said that Santa Barbara was the first soap opera that I ever remembered that got canceled because at that point in my life, you had
Days of Our Lives,
All My Children, General Hospital. Those
As
were
the World Turns.
As the World Turns. They were all on, and they all seem to have been on since the inception of time itself.
Seriously.
And so when Santa Barbara came out, I'm like, oh, there's another soap opera. And they said it's being canceled. I'm like, wait, how? How do you cancel a soap opera? So, yeah. And we were discussing this from the viewpoint of like, I had never in my life up until 1996, fall of 1996, I'd never watched one.
You were in college.
I was in college. I never watched 1 millisecond of a soap opera.
Never.
Because they just seemed like
So your mom was working.
My mom was she worked 9 to 5, and she didn't come home and watch them. She had no interest in soap operas. My dad didn't watch them before work, so there was nothing like that happening in the house. Never watched them. Thought they were for girls or for women or whatever. But also, it just seemed like it was a massive amount of information from all the years past to take in and
all
understand.
All the storylines, the backstories. Yeah.
By the end of that school year, in May of 1997, I was part of a group that was either depending on the day, between 20 to 40 people in the common room at college. At college at UW Wisconsin Waukesha. Go Hilltoppers. That's not the thing, but it's whatever. Harvard on the Hill. That's what they called it. Harvard on the Hill. We would watch religiously Days of Our Lives at noon every day, Monday through Friday. And it wasn't
20 to 30 college
20
kids.
to 40. It was packed. Sometimes you had to sit crouch next to people. It was packed in there to watch it sometimes. And it wasn't a bunch of 18, 19, 20-year-olds being whatever, impetulant and making fun of it. It was shut up. It's on. We're listening. Shh. I need to know why John Black is back.
Which is hilarious because it's not like you're going to miss anything because they're going to recap the whole thing in 2 days.
Oh, my gosh. The soap opera is the kings and queens of exposition.
Oh, and just dragging things out. What is your story? What was your story? I love that you had 40 college kids.
Mm-hmm. Real good use of our time.
Yes, watching soap operas.
Yeah.
No shame, no judgment. What was your story? 855-752-4842. Dave from New Berlin, Days of Our Lives. Mm-hmm. Carol from Waukesha, listening on WAUK. Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. Julie from Wausau, I work nights. Now I watch Seaside Hotel. I never liked soap operas, but my brothers watched them.
Yeah. And then maybe PBS could be considered soap opera. C-SPAN could be a soap opera.
C-SPAN
watching
could be a soap
their
opera.
coverage of the Congress, definitely a soap opera, especially when they get those callers in. That's hilarious.
Gail from New Berlin, listening on WAUK. Dark Shadows all the way. And Ronnie from Horicon. Dark Shadows. It was ahead of his time. I would race home from grade school to watch Dark Shadows.
Yeah.
With the least attractive leading vampire on the planet, Jonathan Frakes.
What I find really funny about Dark Shadows is if you watch reruns now, you can find it anywhere. It's on probably YouTube as well. But it had the set value or because it took place. It was a vampire family,
right?
So
it was an old Gothic mansion kind of thing.
So there was quote special effects. But if you were also a fan of Doctor Who from the 70s, you're like, oh. You have $40 in that budget. Okay, great. I can see the strings on the bat.
Oh, Dark Shadows was especially well known for that. They would have boom mics, in the middle of the scene. And they spent a whole lot of money on that. What was your story? 855-752-4842. Jim from Brookfield is on the line. Good morning, Jim. Thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, you're welcome. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Greg. All right, my go-to can't miss show, and hear me out on this. It was an evening soap opera once a week. It was ER.
Oh.
That was a weekly running soap opera with all the drama and the characters and the romance and the Whatever the catastrophes in the hospital, and that was must-see TV on Thursday night watching ER.
It was essentially General Hospital, but at night.
Yeah.
Very well put, Jane. Yes, it was essentially General Hospital PM.
That's so awesome, Jim. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Jim, thank you so much. And I have to amend my statement.
Uh-oh.
When I said earlier, I officially retract my statement about never watching a millisecond of soap operas.
Because you watched ER?
No. Growing up, I watched Dallas, Dynasty, and Falcon Crest.
Famous soaps.
Famous nighttime soap.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. The Carringtons.
Dynasty.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I liked Dallas more than all. That was my favorite of all of them. But
that's the one I never watched.
Oh, I loved Dallas. And I was like 7 and 8 when I'm watching these shows. I should not have been watching these shows.
Wow. What was your story? 855-752-4842. It's Audio Sorbet. We are talking soap operas. Roger from Stevens Point, Guiding Light.
Yep.
Carol from Waukesha. Even though The Days of Our Lives was my story, the best soap opera moment was when Scotty caught the bouquet at Luke and Laura's wedding. Oh, Carol, we could sit down and go through a case of wine talking about the whole Luke and Laura storyline.
That was appointment television, wasn't it?
Oh, my God, that wedding. But there was a really twisted backstory to that whole relationship. And, yeah, that's a whole different discussion.
You mean their love wasn't just tried and true from the beginning?
No, there was a whole rape thing in there.
God!
Oh, yeah. It was, yeah.
Why did I say anything?
That whole Luke and Laura thing. But yes, it was, oh my God, that wedding was probably one of the largest viewed things.
Let me check and see.
In history. 855-752-4842. We're talking soap operas. Dick from Oak Creek is joining us. Good morning, Dick. What was your story?
Okay, a tie between Dallas and Dark Shadows.
Okay.
So you were another Dark Shadows fan.
Oh, yes. I mean, it was silly. It was crazy. It was funny.
What other soap opera could you have that had a vampire and a werewolf?
Right.
Right?
A witch.
A witch? Yeah, the witch and the warlock. Oh, my God. That's so
You're going to go home and watch it on YouTube today, aren't you?
I am. I'm going to go search for Dark Shadows. Thank you, Dick. That's awesome.
Adam on the live stream says, my millennial stories consisted of binging the OC DVDs. Oh, yeah. For people like under the age of 40, the OC was a big thing.
Calvin,
did you have anything?
I've never actively watched a soap opera, but my mom stayed home until I was in 4th grade, so she would have them on. She doesn't watch them now, so she must not have liked them that much.
Right.
But I remember Days of Our Lives, obviously, and I actually haven't heard The Young and the Restless mentioned.
That's
right.
Both
those shows have been running for over 50 years, so it's kind of crazy to think that those were the same shows my mom was watching when she was a child.
I just read an interview with Eric Braeden, who plays Victor. He's one of the leads on Young and the Restless. He's been doing that part for 50 years.
I mean, that's probably a third generational show now.
Absolutely.
And 30 million people watched Luke and Laura's wedding. I can't believe you didn't say Young and the Restless. That's right.
It was a big one.
Oh,
it was a big
God.
one. We got a couple of minutes left. If you want to share your story, your favorite soap, 855-752-4842.
Matt in Richland Center listening in says, one of my earliest childhood memories was Reva driving off the bridge on Guiding Light. Jane is in hog heaven right now. She's loving every minute of this.
I just think about some of the storylines and dual personalities. We just don't have enough of that anymore.
No, and if you want to watch a great parody, a great roasting of soap operas, the movie Soap Dish. Whoopi Goldberg, Sally Field,
Kevin Kline,
Elizabeth Shue, the Robert Downey Jr. Oh my God.
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant. All right, coming up, we're going to wrap up the show with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. On the other side, One Toke Over the Line edition. You're listening to Matt Nair on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. We will be right back.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning and welcome back to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Buck. Sweet Cal B on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. Leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Just want to do a couple more. We were talking about your story. What is your story? Talking about soap operas. We forgot All My Children.
And just reminded me,
Liz from Saukville texted him.
How many soap operas there were on back in the
they
80s.
were huge.
My God.
Yeah, they were huge. Now I think, are there 3 left? Young and the Restless.
Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives.
All My Children?
All My Children. That might be it. That might be it.
If you want to clue us in, 855-752-4842. And thank you for reminding me of Dark Shadows. I'm gonna go back and watch that this afternoon and have some laughs. Coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. That means Jim Santel will be here, our friend and colleague, and also host of Amicus Law Review, Saturday mornings 9 to 11 across the network. He is an attorney and a former U.S. attorney. Just a couple things for us to talk about.
Just a few.
With Jim tomorrow, we have some super hot weather that is going to be coming our way. So Brittany Merlot, Civic Media meteorologist, will join us at 10:20 for a little weather and wine. And Paul Noonan from the Acme Packing Company. He is their sports guru, and he's going to join us to talk all things sports tomorrow at 10:35. So I hope you can join us. Right now, though, Calvin, it is 10:54. That means it's time for...
This shouldn't be a thing.
If you ever have a thing you think should not be, send it into Greg and me at janesays at civicmedia.us, JANESAYS. Jane says at civicmedia.us. This from KXII.com. Tom Geftos and Dorothy Sadovic with the bylines. From Monroe, Michigan, a reported Bigfoot sighting has become the talk of the town, even prompting a local pot dispensary to offer a discount. The Bigfoot sighting allegedly happened near La Plaisance Road in Monroe County, Michigan in May. A 47-year-old man referred to as Edward said he was bow fishing with his 12-year-old son when they heard rustling in a tree, followed by a huge thud of something hitting the ground. Edward said a big, heavy animal hit the ground and crouched before it started to move toward them. Edward says his dog then went after the creature, which ran off. The dog chased it up a slope before he could get his dog back. The creature appeared to be a large primate about 6 feet tall with dark fur, had 2 legs in a hunched position. Edward's son said in the report it was as big as a bear but looked like a gorilla. The encounter lasted about 10 seconds. Neither of them thought about taking a picture. Okay. I've heard a lot of talk about it. In fact, when I first heard about it, I was in Baltimore. Monroe resident Bob said, I heard about it and I thought, oh my gosh, I leave for a week and look what happens. Bigfoot shows up. One local pot dispensary is capitalizing on the publicity by offering a discount for anyone who brings in photographic proof of Bigfoot. Unique Cannabis has a sign outside of their store that says, quote, bring photo proof of Bigfoot for a free pre-roll, unquote.
Oh, yeah. Does that mean so they make it for you? And
it's a rolled up joint.
Oh. Well,
it's a pre-rolled joint.
I don't know anything.
Young people have told me this.
Drip.
I don't know how I know this. This is not the first time a reported sighting of Bigfoot has occurred in Monroe, Michigan. Apparently, stories of the Monroe Bigfoot have existed since the 1960s. As of yet, no photographic proof. Because again, when you're out, no one's got a camera when they're out anymore. You'd never think to take a picture of this large gorilla-like creature crouched in a tree that your dog chased.
What happened, sir? Well, man, we went to Unique and we got some stuff. I'm not going to talk about that, but then we went in the forest and we were doing stuff, and then all of a sudden, kaboom! A big, looked like my dad fell out of a tree.
It's like Bigfoot, man.
Yeah, man. So it's like we didn't take a picture because the pictures steal your stoles, man. You don't understand. We're in the Matrix.
I would just think that by now someone would have caught a picture of him.
That's my biggest
Right?
criticism of
I
the whole
know.
thing. And man, nothing gets Bigfoot Sasquatch enthusiasts more angry than that question. And I'm not trying
Why
to
no
be,
one's managed to get a photo yet?
Exactly.
Really?
Yes, because it's like, hey, flat earthers, I have like one piece of proof and it's incontrovertible. Sorry. And they're like, you don't understand, man. I'm like, oh, you're right, I don't.
Calvin?
See, what you guys aren't understanding,
Oh,
Shane
boy.
and Craig,
Okay.
is the prevailing theory is that Bigfoot is not actually a terrestrial creature, but a interdimensional being. And that's why no one can find him, is because he travels time and space through portals.
Of course he does.
Bigfoot isn't out there, man. You got to find the Bigfoot in your heart.
I would be more likely to believe that he was a vampire and he doesn't show up in mirrors, and therefore you cannot catch an
Jane,
image of him on a camera.
Just go home and watch Dark Shadows. My God.
You know where I'll be this afternoon. All right, that wraps up today's episode of
This shouldn't be a thing.
Oh, boy. Thank you, Greg and Calvin, and all of our engineers. Without you, absolutely nothing works. And thank you most of all for calling and for texting and for listening. It means the world. And I say this every day as a reminder to myself as well. I hope you find some joy today and you have the chance to share it. Keep it right here. News coming up next. Tom Hartman then from 11 to 2. Todd Alba 2 to 4. Maggie Dawn 4 to 6. Pete Schwaba and Nightlight 6 to 8 p.m. Keep it right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. And we'll see you tomorrow.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.